Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Now, if you didn't know already, Cyberpunk 2077 had its Phantom Liberty DLC released a couple of weeks ago, and I have been stalling on releasing a review on it and talking about it in general, other than, the little guide videos and things like that. But today we're going to cover that. I do apologise, I do have a little bit of a sore throat, so I might sound a bit weird. But as usual, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and don't forget to give us a follow on Twitch, because I do a lot of streaming over on there. So yeah, let's get on with the rest of the video. So first off, we're going to talk about the main changes that has happened to the core structure of the game that affects the actual main game as well as the DLC. And first off, we're going to talk about the perk system and the just general way everything works. First off, you have a higher level cap, I'm not even max level yet, which allows you to get more stats into your main core abilities, which then allows you to get more perks. And the perk trees are a lot more fleshed out and specific towards builds. So for example, you've got an entire blade section, you've got an entire movement section, and then you've got a section for pistols and guns and things like that. And this goes to be said for all of them. You've got more durability based stuff, more shotgun based stuff, more blunt weapon based stuff. And it's a lot clearer how your builds are going to play out and how you can get the specific things that you want. And I feel like this is going to give people a lot more control over the builds that they have. When it came to perks in the previous iteration of the skill tree, some of them were a little bit more unclear on what exactly they did, had some prerequisites that if you didn't take, made the build significantly weaker, even though you could get the abilities without taking the prerequisite. So this makes it clearer what you need to make X work, and you can't get X without Y. That kind of thing. It basically stops you from picking perks that essentially would be useless unless you've picked the main perk that actually gives it a buff. And on top of that, you also get big powerful perks at the end of the skill tree, like Style Over Substance, which guarantees critical hits with throwing weapons when crouched, sprinting, sliding, dodging, or dashing. Or, for example, in the Reflex tree, you have the Dash skill tree, which goes from allowing you to dash around to air dashing to basically doing dashes that work like double jumps, give you more stamina, and then allow you to do air dash in the air that don't consume stamina. But then they also give you stamina back, so you can maneuver to regenerate. I think dash is the best ability in the game. It's absolutely fantastic. And because of this, I feel like more builds are going to be more accessible for people, and people are going to have a bit more control over what they are using and what they're doing. On top of that, we do have the Relic skill tree. This is only available when you have the DLC. The other stuff is available without the DLC, but the Relic skill tree adds different abilities to different things. For example, you get some additional bonuses to self when you've leveled them up that allow you to lose enemies or slow down time. You can get vulnerability analytics, which makes a little highlight zone where the enemy is vulnerable and you can hit them in it and it does massive damage. You get different abilities for your arm mods, like more projectiles, mono wires, spread quick hacks. You've got gorilla arms causing shockwaves, and you've got your Mantis Blades allowing you to teleport. So it adds crazy abilities, and this you level up as you play through the DLC and find more relic point caches. But overall, the skill system is completely overhauled and changed. Next, we're going to talk about gear in terms of your clothing, your weapons, and your cyberware. Now, when it comes to clothing, I'll be honest, the clothing is made kinda useless. It's there and exists as a way to make your character look a specific way. There are certain bits of clothing that have certain abilities, like here we have melee resistance, here we have armor plating, but for the most part, your clothing is just a cosmetic. Your weapons are not really changed too much. Your iconics still have their crazy abilities, their crazy different things. You can see more specifically your attack speed, your damage, your stamina cost, your effective range, all that kind of thing. It gives you a rundown specifically of what each weapon does, but your iconics do the same thing. If they had a special ability before, they still have that special ability now. When it comes to mods, they still exist in terms of weapons. They don't exist in terms of armor. So your weapon mods do certain things, allow you to do certain things, but they're not available in the same way that they were. There's not like as an expansive mod ability with everything. Your guns tend to have more mods than your melee stuff, but yeah, throwing knives don't really have any mods to really utilize. But you do still have that as a kind of core thing. It's not changed all that much, but it has changed a chunk. Then we have cyberware, which has probably changed the most. Now, as you can see, we have two different bars. One is an armor bar, and one is a cyberware capacity bar. Now, pretty much cyberware accounts for most of your armor, if not all of it in some cases, and you can only equip a certain amount of cyberware up to your capacity, but you can go over your capacity once you've got certain perks. And you can also increase your capacity with certain perks. Essentially, as you level up for the game, your capacity will increase. This will give you better access to better cyberware that does different things. And what I would say is the cyberware that you had previously, even if you maxed out your character before, the cyberware you're wearing might actually be completely unoptimized now. So you will have to potentially re-equip everything, refind everything, that kind of thing. Another big change with the cyberware is that the way it unlocks is no longer the same. Essentially, before, you would buy certain cyberware from certain Ripper docks throughout the city. That's no longer the case. Pretty much as you level up, as you get street cred, all the Ripper docks in the game sort of unlock progressively better cyberware for you to equip and put on. So you can go to just about any Ripper dock and get just about any cyberware that you need within reason. There are some outliers where there's some places where you can get different cyberware that does different things, and you can get certain cyberware from certain missions and things like that. It's very much a case of, with some exceptions, but for the most part in the base game, the higher level you are, the better cyberware you gain access to just by going and speaking to Ripper docks. And as I said, if you look at the cyberware, you see the capacity, which is the little yellow one on the left, and the armor on the right. Not all cyberware has armor, but as I said, it makes up for a majority of your armor. And this obviously affects your build and what you're doing and how you're going to do it. So think carefully about what cyberware you need, what cyberware you want, and how you want to play the game, because it obviously has a massive effect on how your character progresses and functions as a as V, I suppose is the best way to put it. It is one of the biggest changes in the game, and I quite enjoy it. I quite like the idea that you have a capacity for your cyberware, and that, yeah, your cyberware is more important than the crappy clothes you're wearing, because that never made sense why you've got metal arms, but, you get more armor from a bit of cloth. Now, I'm giving a little bit of an honourable mention to vehicle combat. One thing I'll say about it is it's nice that you're able to shoot a gun while you're in your car. It's nice that you're able to, fight while you're in a car. One thing I will say about it, though, is it doesn't have as big an impact on the game as I would like. In the DLC itself, it doesn't have a huge amount of missions that revolve around this. It does have, like, a repeatable mission style thing that you can go steal cars and, get into fights involving those cars. And that's fun, but obviously it loses its novelty relatively quick when repeatable stuff is pretty much just go to point A, grab car, go to point B, put car in, fight people on way. It kind of, I don't feel like in the overarching way the game works, I didn't feel like I was using the vehicle combat during any missions. Like, not in any significant way, not in any way I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, that I was driving along the road and I had to fight a tank and a helicopter and drones and all these kind of things. It just felt like it was an addition that they wanted to add, but just didn't have time to in the base game, and maybe something they're thinking about using more in the sequels. Overall, I don't feel like it really matters too much. It's a fun little addition, but overall, yeah, I'm kind of disappointed with how it applies to the actual physical game. So now that we've talked about what they've changed in the base game, let's talk about the DLC itself and what's new. So Dogtown is, how do you describe it? A fetid shithole. It is literally a war-torn part of Night City that has been barricaded off and bombarded, ripped apart, torn to shreds. You can see the remnants of what was once part of Night City and part of Pacifica, and then a big old dump taken on it. And it's a massive contrast from places like Corpo Plaza, where everything is pristine, things are new and sparkling and shiny and very Blade Runner-y. But then you've got this place that is literally like a war zone. It is a war zone. It has been a war zone. And you can see that in Pacifica, where the border between Dogtown and Night City is. The kind of fighting in Dogtown bleeds over into just around Pacifica and then starts disappearing as you get more into Night City. You can see that Pacifica has been forged by its proximity to Dogtown, and the reason Pacifica is a bit of a shithole is because Dogtown is the king of all shitholes. And it's really interesting contrast. I find it quite a good lore building aspect to the game, that even though you're in the future, there's still these crazy ass wars going on very close to home. Now, when it comes to the story of Phantom Liberty, this isn't really a spoiler because it's been in all the promotional media. You are tasked with saving the president of what is essentially the USA, America. And a spy thriller spirals out of control from there, and you meet a diverse group of characters. You make choices that are, in some cases, questionable. In other cases, it depends on your morality, I suppose. And a lot of cool stuff happens. You unlock some cool abilities, some cool gear. You do some crazy ass shit. And overall, I think the story of Phantom Liberty is very removed from the main story of the game. And it's great. I found it really fun. It has one of the best fight sequences in the entire game when you take on the Chimera tank. And it is just a very fun and worthwhile experience. I think that it is worthy of a CD Projekt expansion, DLC, whatever you want to look at it as. And I found a lot of fun in it, and I would encourage people to play through it multiple times to get different aspects of the story. On top of this, you obviously have Dogtown fleshed out in the form of gigs. Mr. Hands returns, one of the fixers that we didn't really get to see much of in the base game, but you do get him fleshed out, and all the surroundings of Dogtown in terms of gigs and things like that. There's a lot of repeatable content in the form of, you know, as I said, the driving, stealing cars, and fighting with them. But overall, yeah, I found that part of the DLC to be really fun. There's a lot of content, a lot of things to find, and a lot of things to do, and a lot of cool little secrets and things to find in the area. So overall, I think it was quite a successful DLC. So I'll round up this video by speaking about what my general opinion of Cyberpunk and the state of the game, as well as what the DLC's added, and a kind of general feeling. I've talked about specifics, but overarching. And Cyberpunk 2077, like a lot of games in recent times, stumbled at the beginning. And CD Projekt Red, instead of stumbling, and like so many other companies have done, went, there's nothing we can do, what's done is done, let's move on. They stood up, dusted themselves off, and said to themselves, no, we're better than this, we can do better than this, and we will do better than this. With patch 2.0, which is completely free to anybody that owns the base game of Cyberpunk 2077, they have reworked this game from the ground up. The systems in which you build your character have been completely obliterated and redone. The game feels brand new. It feels pristine. It feels better. And it is better. I have never seen a game company do this to a game before. I've never seen them turn a game that was considered to be a flop on launch into what I consider to be one of the best games I have ever played. And that's not to say it doesn't have its flaws. Every game has its flaws. There's little things that you go, they could have done this better. Like the car combat thing. I feel like they're going to do that in future games. Do I like that they added it? Yeah, 100%. They didn't need to. I like that they did. I think CD Projekt Red has knocked it out of the park. Now, when it comes to the DLC or the expansion, Phantom Liberty as a whole, I feel like it's very effective. It's fun. The storyline is not that long, but then if you play through the storyline of the main Cyberpunk game, it's probably not that long either. It's all the little bits and bobs that you do around it that lengthens the experience. And I feel like it's a very good DLC and expansion. I would say it's more up there with the Hearts of Stone DLC for The Witcher 3 rather than Blood and Wine. Blood and Wine was like a whole new game. But when you take into consideration that outside the DLC they've reworked the system, there's a lot of work and love been put into this. And I salute CD Projekt Red. They have literally clawed back all the ill will they got, as far as I'm concerned, for the launch of the game. I think they have shown that you don't have to be super greedy when it comes to building games. It can be about building a fun and worthwhile experience. And if you disagree with me, then you're entitled to that opinion, but I think CD Projekt Red has proved that they care. They care about this game, they care about their franchise, and they care about their players. And they have just made such an incredible experience that I genuinely will not hesitate to get the next Cyberpunk game, the next Witcher game, any game that they bring out. Unless they, somehow shit on my hopes and expectations and dreams and do something abhorrent. I've got a lot of faith in this company, and I think this has been a worthwhile experience. Either way, guys, if you disagree, if you agree, definitely leave that down in the comments. I would really appreciate hearing from you. As I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And if you're looking for more content from me, we do have an alternate channel. That link will be down below in my description, as well as our Twitch channel, which is over on Twitch, which once again will be in the description because we're constantly doing streams over there depending on how my health takes me. And when this video comes live, which should be Tuesday the 24th, we should be streaming that night unless obviously I take a turn for the worst. Either way, guys, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and catch you in the next one.
Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel, please tell me